Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Route to Freedom podcast. This is Bill Burch, and I'm here with my wife, Sharon, and we're going to get right to it because this week, Sharon has a client who reached out to her that's looking at buying a pool service business, and the seller provided the buyer with was it a pretty generic? What was it exactly? I haven't seen any of this, so I don't know. She just mentioned it, and it seemed like a great thing
And
to
to be
talk about.
fair, I haven't seen it either. This was from a conversation. I often have clients call up for various reasons and they want to learn more. But from what he shared, all he had was a spreadsheet of a profit and loss from a somebody who had listed their pool service business, and he was trying to decipher from that what did it really mean, because it was pretty basic and it was difficult to tell what was that income and those expenses
So
for.
basically, they didn't have it broken out in the
Right.
categories of, like we did, or like a lot of pool service companies do. They need to mine into the nuances of the different categories of business that they do, so they can tell where they're making money and where they're not. And that they didn't give him that. They gave him a kind of a generalized. Here's our income. Here's our expenses. Here's our net profit.
Yeah, and most likely because that's what they had. And this is a common thing that I run across. In fact, it's why a lot of people work with me, is because they find a YouTube video or something and they own a pool service business. And they're like, whoa, I want that. I want to be able to look at my financial reports and know exactly where's my income coming from, what part of my business, so that I can make better decisions. And
Sure.
And so, yeah, it made sense. And then in his case, he was trying to figure out, okay, where is it profitable at? Where's the profitable side? And I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. We did the same thing when we bought our pool service business. We were pushing for numbers and couldn't get a complete set of financials. And in the end, during our due diligence period, we actually went in and did their bookkeeping for them and updated them and put them into this. But so if you don't mind, you got some stuff. Can you show us kind of what you're talking about, or what those might? Do you have a sample company that you can pull up and let everybody see what those? And this is a real set of books that have been kind of whitewashed for company name, right?
Yeah. It's what I use for all of my demo videos.
Okay.
That you see out there.
So it's going to be. So it's generally what it is, but not real. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So we'll take a look at those. Get to the right page here. Because it's really helpful to see, okay, well, what should it look like? And this is a common thing that I run into. It's why I do what I do, is that oftentimes a business owner doesn't know what to ask their accountant or bookkeeper for, and the accountant or bookkeeper doesn't understand the business, so they don't really know what they need, and the two aren't exactly sure how to break it down. So that's what you're seeing, is if you're a pool service business, it is incredibly helpful in running your business that you can see the breakdown of what's for pool cleaning and pool repairs. In fact, I'm going to share a different tab. I think it's going to make more sense to switch to this one. Okay. So what you're looking at is a breakdown that's really important to know the difference between the cleaning side of your business, and everybody calls this something different. Every client I talk to, they might call pool cleaning maintenance. Another one calls it service. So I'm just being really clear here, so that they come to your pool, if it's residential, once a week, clean the pool, maintain it, add the chemicals and stuff. And then the repairs and maintenance is, okay, oops, the pump needs a repair or needs to be replaced, or skimmer baskets or whatever. So that's what you're kind of seeing, is the labor for those two streams of income. And then when you add chemicals to the bill or parts to the bill, then those are on their own line items. So when you can see this breakdown, then you really know, okay, I received this amount of income for those chemicals or the parts or that labor, and then what was my cost? And for that reason, I like to go through the cost of goods sold and put in what was the cost of the chemicals and what was the cost of the parts. So you can really see what is your gross profit. So that's kind of a breakdown that he really wished that he had. And I'll show you another way to do it. But then you're going to break it down to salaries and wages. You can go more granular into the management, which oftentimes the owner is paying themselves a salary. So that would go there, as well as true management that you've hired, your pool service tech, your pool repair techs, or you can keep it very simple and just put it all in wages, and your taxes, contract labor, But just seeing this breakdown, I'm just going to do it quickly because the whole thing is not getting to the deep dive. But I think you start to see the buckets of expenses, the buckets of income that you can really see how is your business doing, and see it in a snapshot if you need to or want to, or you can see it expanded. And this is the part that he's trying to make decisions on. Is this a good business for me to buy or not? Now you can see, okay, the income directly related to a pool service and then the expenses that are directly related to pool service. So you can kind of start to do a comparative between the repair side of your business and the cleaning side of your business. And obviously your overhead's always going to be in the negative, but it just starts to be able to see how are the different components of my business doing. And the one thing I will point out before I stop sharing the screen and Bill can ask me questions is this owner class. And this is a really important one because when people, and he asked it, he said, what are the owner add backs? And it doesn't mean that anybody did something illegal, but it just means that what are the owner add backs that as an owner, you're processing transactions through the company, for example, paying yourself a salary as an owner. That's a legitimate thing to do. But when you're looking at your business as how is it profitable or not, it's really nice to be able to click a button and go, okay, these are the expenses that in fact, yes, it's a business expense, but it's actually coming back to me on the other side. So it's a very common question when people are looking at a business that they want to purchase. And in a pool service business, that's kind of how we set it up, and the facility and property. So these were things he didn't have. And so he was trying to guess out of just like a generic, a generic spreadsheet
high
of
level numbers.
Right.
Was all he had.
What
He
is
couldn't
that?
tell how it was. In these numbers, basically a business owner could want to analyze any part of their business. So they might do a lot of renovation work and they sub that renovation work out. So they might have a category or a class in this case so they can see how much money they're making at the sub at that kind of work, right? And then if you don't mind, scroll to the bottom of that. And something that was interesting to me was at this company, the owners wanting to know, you can tell that the owners wanting to know how much it's costing to operate the business that's not specific to pool service. Like, no, how much is my office staff costing? How much is this space I'm in, sitting in, doing my work costing? And what is that overhead as a percentage of the total? Because I don't feel like it's making me any money. I want that number. I want that $16,895 to be as small as it can be. You go across the other numbers and you're making money. So you look, if you can scroll to the right, I saw they were profitable, I think it's not a bad month. I mean, this is a 1 month number, but they're 19,329 to the good. And, of course, every business owner's, how can I make more money in each category? How can I save some money in categories? And this is a pretty decent operation. It looks like it's a fairly average, small, simple bread and butter company. And, but they've got an admin. So they wanted to know how much is this admin costing us in total, so you can do that anyway. And every owner is going to do this. You have countless customers. I'm sure that they're all moving these numbers around so that it matches their mindset, don't they?
Yes, that's one of the things that we do. I mean, there's some staple things that you always do the same way, but to your point, Bill, like when you look at this 12,000 number, or basically 13,000, that is owner's salary and some other benefits, paying rent and stuff. That's actually, they're doing okay. You can add that 13,000 to here to really see, kind of how they're doing. But I forgot your question. What was your question? Oh yeah.
Well,
organizing
just the fact that every business, no two set of financials look the same. There's not a standard boilerplate way that they're supposed to look. While they need to be accurate for you as an owner, they can do what you need them to do to get, some people are going to be super, super good at doing the renovation work and subbing work out and doing bigger projects. And
right.
They're going to understand that. So they're going to break those down more because they know what they're really doing. And they may not care. They're like, hey, I've got my office manager. I trust them. They know I don't want a lot of breakdown for that. I don't want to know how much she's spending on stamps. I just don't want to know. I don't care. So they'll make their financials more expansive in one area than another. Or do you see that? I mean, you see a lot of financials. So
yeah, well, I see a couple of things. excuse me. One of the most common shifts, in fact, one of my clients just said, hey, can we move my contracted labor up into the cost of goods sold and used area? This is technically an expense area. I mean, it's technically an expense, and these are the expenses. But he wanted to see that his contracted labor be up here in cost of labor so that when he saw this is my total income that came in, and then after I pay the labor to do the work, the chemicals and the parts, then what do I have left over? And that's just a simple move of where you want to see that information in your financials. And neither one is wrong. Especially for contracted labor. W-2 gets a little trickier because you have payroll taxes and all those things. But still, those are kind of those simple choices. And then to your point of like, I don't want to know what all the stamps are and all of that. That's kind of the point of using these, what I call parent categories. So you can kind of fold it up. And to your point, there are some clients who they don't want all of their marketing and advertising lumped into one category. They want to have another, what I would call grandchild. So if you think of this as the parent category, and then this would be the next level down, and then the grandchildren would be another drop down. And they want to see how much is paid on Google ads, Facebook, Meta. They want to see it so if they drop it down, they can see the detail. And then like to your point, others like, no, if I want to see that, I will just click on the number and see the granular detail one by one.
Exactly.
So it's really just a choice of what the owner, how they want to see it, what's important to them, and that it's correct for the end of your tax year and your, all those things. But these are all choices.
A lot of the business managers or operators that are not financially interested. I mean, they're interested, but they're like, I'm not going to sit on my computer and look at financials all the time. I just want to know. And they've just got 2 or 3 things that they're really interested in. Of course, the bottom line, they're always interested in the bottom line. And then they'll go back. Is that what you see from them? Is they'll look at the bottom line first, and then they'll have like 1, 2, or 3 things that they bump up to. Okay, in this case, we made $19,000, but then they're really not typically looking at all of the numbers in depth. They kind of skip back to a couple, which would explain why that particular contractor, or not contractor, that particular business owner wanted to see his cost of goods up there, because he wants to know what his gross profit is. And that's in his mind, the way he understands gross profit that way. And he wants to see that gross profit number.
I would say that's true. The more serious the business owner is. Some of the fun stories that I love, and it's really cool meeting different pool service business owners and how they approach it. But the ones that seem to succeed the best are the ones that have dialed in on the most important numbers, and they visit it on a regular basis. So for example, this one guy, he and his wife are in business together. And every Sunday, it's almost like a game. They are checking to see, okay, did we meet, did we increase our profit or did we reduce it? Oh, what do we need to do? It's like it's a game, and they have fun. So they have like their 3 numbers that they want to check. And those are the most successful ones, the ones that are paying attention to the KPI, right? The key performance indicators. The thing that I do with every client that I have at a minimum, so you say, oh my gosh, like if that's new to you and you're listening to this, but at a minimum, this tends to be what works really well. If they haven't gamified it yet, is looking at the comparison from month to month. So this is, they tend to, and it's a great idea. Okay, what's my total income that I receive? Looking at that first, and how am I doing from month to month? And like, ooh, September started to drop off. Well, why? And then what's the story behind it? Does it make sense? Was there cooler weather? What is the reason? If you can explain it, then it's cool. So that's always one. That's a big one. And then when you look at the gross profit, it's like, how's that looking? Is it trending? Is it following? Or wait, why is that so different? So it's looking from the month to month and doing that comparison to go, is this on track? And then if they look at that bottom line, and I haven't even looked at this before this thing, this is part of my numbers of demo, but also when you look at September, you go, whoa, Why did that go to negative 15? And that would be a flag. And then you would look up and go, oh yeah, that we had 2 trucks that were totaled and we had a ton of expenses. And then, oh yeah. Or it's a 3 payroll month. So that's the type of comparison that's really helpful at a minimum for any business owner. And we kind of dove off the trail there but it's also interesting it's interesting to somebody who's wanting to buy the business too, if they can have this level of detail to see, well, what can I expect? And what's the story behind this if it doesn't make sense?
Right. And all of that applies to year over year numbers to keep it, every month is different. Seasons do change. Weather makes a difference. That off ball, one off truck, whatever, that stuff happens. But as a buyer, you want to see that. The great thing though is, as a seller, even if you're not selling, if you're doing this for 2 or 3 years before that decision is made to sell, these numbers are gold. If they're not like this, then the buyers, they may still be interested, they may still buy it, but they're not going to buy hope. They're going to discount it, and you're going to get an offer that's, you can say to yourself, well, I'm pretty sure it's making this much money. Their multiple is going to be a lot lower because they're like, pretty sure it's not doing it for me. I want to know. I want to know exactly what's going on. So if you've got pretty pristine books like this, which can happen, that's great for you. And frankly, it's just as easy. Wouldn't you say, I know you're not going to be the least bit prepared to answer this, but wouldn't you say that it does not cost any more in net return to the owner to do the books up front than it does to do them in arrears? In other words, is it even more costly all right, I'm tired of the business, I want to get out, and you talk to the broker, somebody like me, and I'm like, hey, you've got to have good numbers, and you're like, oh crap, I guess I'm going to have to go get good numbers. And then they contact you, which happens, and they're like, hey, I'm in this situation, can you help me out? And you're like, yeah, but how does that usually go? Does that usually end up being more expensive than if they just buckled down and kept them current?
Oh yeah, most likely. And I've never done a comparison that way. It sure feels more expensive because, I have clients who are either planning on selling or they've had it. Like they started the business, and when you start a new business, it's like a fire hose is just pointed at you and you're just trying to survive. So it keeps getting pushed down lower and lower. And then it's the end of the tax year and you're scrambling for all the receipts and pulling it together and just answering the accountant's questions so you can get it done. But you really don't know where you're at. So when they come to me, it's one of those 2 cases of like, I'm sick and tired of this. I want to scale. I want to grow my business and I have no idea where I'm at. I want to ask for financing because I need more trucks. I don't know where I'm really at. I need books that are legit. Well, they can spend, depending however much of a mess it is. I have one client who spent basically $10,000 to fix his books because it was years of just not reconciled, and it was just a pure mess. So all he was doing was, which is common, watching his bank account and his credit card account, and making sure it was always all moving in the right direction. But he really couldn't tell it. Yeah. And then if they're getting ready to sell, a buyer would love to have at least 3 years of clean books. So sometimes it's just, we'll just go back 3 to 5 years and just get that set up. And it's still more expensive, but I think it is one of the best investments. You're going to pay for it at some time. You're going to get a better price. If you're running a good business, you're going to get a better price for your business if you have clean books, because that's really what they have to go on. And if you don't have clean books, they're kind of guessing, and then you have nothing to back it up and stand behind the number of what you're asking for.
So it's a little bit like folding your laundry and putting it up. You're going to do it someday. Do you just want to live with a mess between now and the time that you're going to do it anyway? So you just do it. And I bet, have you noticed or do you have a gut feel for the profitability of businesses that stay on their numbers versus the profitability of those that are having to clean up? Would you say that those that are into it and actually decide to make that a priority, that they make more money?
That I don't have it seems like it. It seems, I don't have a real, that's just my guess. But when they're excited about their numbers, and I have some clients who are really detailed, they want to know where every penny went. And that's the only way you know how you're doing is the more you track. You don't know if you're really losing weight unless you step on the scale.
Right.
Until you can't fit in your clothes anymore. So,
and you tend to lose more weight when you get on the scale every day.
Yeah. And so that's probably what I notice more than anything is, especially like I do a monthly financial review with each of my clients, and it's the time that they put on their calendar that they're going to stop and go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I did do that. Oh yeah, we did have that try. Oh yeah. Like they first look at it, go, why is my net profit so much less? And then I think they can use that information to make decisions of what they need to do next because they understand that impact. Or, I need to raise my prices because gases went up or chemical cost has went up and I haven't changed a single thing, but I didn't even realize that was happening to me.
It's easy to let one day turn into the next, which turns into the next week and the next month. And then maybe next year you'll get to it. So that's great information. Thanks for sharing those financials. I'm sure we'll get into those in future podcasts too. So if anybody's interested, of course, this is what Sharon does for a living. And but if you do have any questions about buying or selling your business or about your bookkeeping or how to do things, please leave a comment and we'll try to catch it and see if we can't build that into a future podcast soon after you leave it there. And we'll try to keep up with you. So I think that's probably a great place to jump off. Anything else from you?
No, I'm afraid if we talk about any more, we would overwhelm people and they would not want to listen anymore.
Gets to be a little bit much. Yeah, we're not here. We're not great entertainers, but so we're more about the business. But anyway, thanks for joining us on Route to Freedom, and we'll see you here next time.